Hello. So I figured I would start a YouTube channel with an introduction to me and how I got started in health and wellness, and sort of my journey with um, not having health and wellness and the things that I did to kind of get my health back and feel better. So to start, I have kind of always been involved in or interested in health and wellness. Began early because I was an athlete and a varsity athlete growing up, and was always looking for ways to try to optimize my performance. So I was a competitive swimmer, I did basketball, I ran, and it also escalated into my animals and their health because I did rodeo 4-H FFA. And so I was really very interested in their health as well and trying to do everything I possibly could to ensure their performance as well as my own. So I've been in the health and wellness industry for a very long time. Professionally, I started in 2007 with teaching fitness classes, and it's pretty much escalated from there. I got certified in nutrition and health, to include um, pregnancy and fertility, postpartum health, children's health, as well as seniors. So it's really been pretty all encompassing. I will have to say that probably some of my favorite clients to work with are fertility and pregnancy, and then contest prep. So I have done some bodybuilding, and I am going to talk a little bit more about that later. I have done 3 shows. I've placed 2 out of those 3 shows. I've competed in NGA and NPC bikini divisions. And all 3 of those competitions were after I had had children. So my first competition, my daughter was 2 at the time. And then my last competition was 5 years ago. And I'm going to kind of talk about how my health really plummeted after that last show, just so you can really get an idea of where I came from and what I've done to fix my health. I also became certified personal trainer, I do believe in 2015. I have since let all of my certifications lapse, and I'm actually going back to school now for my bachelor's of science, and then I'm going to go into physical therapy and hope to continue coaching clients, as personal training, physical therapy, as well as with health and nutrition. So let's go to my first 2 contest preps in the bikini division. I had coaches for all of them. My first show was in 2016. And like I said, my daughter was 2 at the time. And so I had a lot of baby weight to lose. I had a lot of pelvic floor strengthening to do. I had hip strengthening to do, low back. I mean, really all of that core. I didn't come back into my fitness properly, especially after my firstborn. And after my secondborn, I ended up needing surgery to repair an umbilical hernia and split abs. I had very big babies, and I'm not a very big person. So I mean, my belly got pretty big with my pregnancies. And then of course I did everything wrong after I had my kids, because I just really didn't know too much about, at least after my firstborn. After my firstborn, I really started to dial into postpartum fitness and even prenatal fitness. So, first contest prep was kind of a mess. I was miserable the entire time. Overtraining, obviously, and under eating. I was in a very massive calorie deficit, and I think by the time I was getting on stage, I was eating about 800 calories, in between 800 and 1,000 calories a day. And of course, all of those things that come with being in such a huge calorie deficit, mood swings and cravings and binging. And that wasn't good for my personality, because I already had some issues with food, growing up with some anorexia and some binging issues. So first contest prep, not great on my mental health or my physical health. I end up placing 3rd in that show, so I did well. My second contest prep, I worked with a new coach, and my approach was very different. I did carb cycling for most of it and was much happier with that. I didn't feel quite as hungry, and I felt like I was getting refueled a lot, and I was a bunch more, honest with myself and what I was eating, the quality of food I was eating, my supplements, and getting rest, not drinking, and those sort of things. So second prep went a lot better. It was, however, rushed. I think in August or July, I had decided to show, and then I was on stage in October. So I think I lost 20 pounds in that time frame. Um, and I don't necessarily think that was good for my health either. The third show prep, again, I had done carb cycling. I had managed to stay fairly lean since my second show. And so I didn't need to lean out a ton. And I was able to keep my calories fairly high for the majority of that contest prep. And it was the best I had ever felt. And I actually brought the best physique I had ever brought to stage, and I had placed fourth in the open of that show. And it was a huge show. It was the biggest show I'd ever been to. So I was very happy with that performance, and I was very happy with how I felt. But just like I equate it to baby blues. So if you've ever had a baby, the hype of getting to meet your baby, and oh my gosh, what's labor going to be like? And then all of a sudden now my baby's here and I've met my baby, and then you get home and you sort of have this plummet. You start to feel down. Baby blues set in, and that's essentially what happened to me after my last show. I was so thrilled with the way my physique looked and how I placed and how well I felt during prep, and I plummeted after that show. My mental health went to crap. My physical health went to crap. Then we started getting into COVID. I ended up getting COVID. And so my last time on stage was 2020. And then in between that time, between 2020 and 2023, my health just plummeted. My hormones got all out of whack. My immune system crashed. My nervous system crashed. I was having panic attacks. I gained a lot of weight, about 30 pounds from when I had gotten on stage, maybe a little bit more. I wasn't sleeping well. I mean, just all of the things. Hair and skin were drying out, nails were drying out. And then in 2023, I finally was like, I've had enough feeling this way. And I went to a functional medicine doctor in Pocatello, Idaho, Dr. West. And that's truly where my journey of healing began. My progesterone was super low. My testosterone was super low. DHEA was super low. Estrogen was actually fairly normal, which was surprising. And then my thyroid labs were fairly normal. And I was actually diagnosed with Hashimoto's in, I think, 2007. 2009. I think I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's and hypoglycemia. And I'm going to get into that here in just a minute. So with Dr. West, we started with high quality supplements. We were doing IV nutrition. So I was getting several different IVs. One of them was an ozone. So it would literally go in and clean your blood, disinfect your blood. And then the other one was a vitamin C pack. And then they had another one that was like loaded with B vitamins, vitamin C. And I did that over a course of a year. I think I did probably 15 of those IVs over the course of a year. We did a neural injections. They started with neural injections in my ovaries. I was having severe ovulation pain. And those actually started in high school and just have been getting progressively worse. I could honestly say that my periods were fine. I didn't suffer through periods like I did through ovulation. So they started with those, and then also to try and get my hormones back on track. I have not had ovulation pain since. We've done 2 neural injections to my ovaries. in that course of like 15 months, I think, that I was working with Dr. West. And then, of course, we did neural injections everywhere else, spine, head, kidneys, just everything to get everything back on track. And then I did have some overuse injuries in my knees and my hips. And then I actually crashed really hard ice skating and tore my rotator cuff. And so in all of those joints, I did do a series of prolozone injections. I ended up doing two, maybe three in the shoulder, and it's fully repaired. It's good. I didn't ever end up needing surgery on that shoulder. And then I also did a lot of infrared bed time. So anytime I would go to see my doctor with my IVs and stuff, I would try to get in that infrared bed, and they would do different settings. So I'd be like, my energy's super low. So they do one for, mitochondrial health and ATP production and things like that. And then, when we did discover that my hormones were all out of balance, then they would set the settings on the infrared bed more towards, balancing my hormones. And it's worked. And then, of course, nutrition. And that's the time that I really started shifting to a high-fat carnivore diet, or ketovore diet. And then, of course, lifestyle changes. So I made significant lifestyle changes. One of them was my partner of 5 years. I just ended up having to let go of that relationship. I don't want to get into a lot of details, but there was a lot of drinking involved with that relationship, and I was really susceptible to that. And alcohol was one of those things I had to give up. My liver's it's getting older. It's not processing it like it used to. It was keeping me up at night, giving me anxiety. The other thing I did quit was tobacco. So I've chewed tobacco off and on since I was 16, and I had to quit that fully, and I have not looked back since. I think it's been almost 4 years now. But it was also contributing to my poor health and anxiety, panic attacks. So I had to say goodbye to that relationship. I had to make a bunch of decisions to ease my stress, especially financially, which meant selling my home. It meant dialing back my workload. And then it brings us to now, which meant selling my business. So I owned a gym here in my town locally, and I managed and owned it and pretty much ran it all myself. It was at one of those, stages where I couldn't really afford help, but I needed the help. And who knows, maybe if I'd hired the help, things would have been better and the business would have flourished even more. You just don't know. But I just knew I was done with that business. I knew almost a year ago. And so it's been about a year of me trying to get it sold. And now that's finally done. I do not own that business anymore. And I'm still working with clients, which I love. And I love doing the personal programming and online coaching. And here, hopefully soon in the next few years, be out there on my own as a physical therapist. And I'm hoping that with all of my previous experience, that going back to school for physical therapy will be a bit more easy, So anyway, let's backtrack a little bit. My early 20s, so back in like 2007, 2008. And actually all of college, when I was in college, I was suffering from hypoglycemia. I mean, just the hangry, the shakes. And it got to the point where I ended up needing a glucagon pen. My levels, this was when I was in law enforcement, my levels actually got so low that my sergeant pulled me aside to the med room, tested my blood sugar, and was like, you need to go to the clinic right now. So he took me up to the clinic, or I had one of the officers take me up to the clinic, and because my blood sugar was like 44. They took me up there, they got me glucose tabs, they got me a glucagon pen. And I remember that day I went back to work. I didn't do much because I was just suffering all day. It took all day to bring my blood sugar up, and I was eating like Snickers and apples. Like I was really trying hard to bring my blood sugars back up. At that doctor's visit, that's when they discovered my enlarged thyroid. And then they did, they took blood and they came back with a diagnosis of Hashimoto's. So they referred me to an endocrinologist, which is 3.5 hours away. I live very remotely. There's nothing here. And they started me on prescription medications for that. And I started really looking into nutrition. I didn't think it was normal that I couldn't go 2 hours without food. And that's where I was at. I was having to eat every 2 hours. And I wanted to bodybuild. And I was like, I have to be able to be in a calorie deficit to lean out. And I can't have this hypoglycemia problem. So started working with this endocrinologist, and things got better. Not 100%. I stopped having super low episodes of low blood sugar. Not completely. And I was not completely happy with my doctor there. Every time I'd go and see him, he basically gave me, I told him, I'm like, I'm not 100%. My energy's still low. I still have all of these symptoms. I can't lose weight, things like that. And he's like, well, we're just going to have to keep increasing your prescriptions. And I was of the mindset, no, I want to heal this. Like, what went wrong to cause my thyroid to become dysfunctional? And they never had answers for me. So right about the time, it was right about the time I had my firstborn, I still was just unhappy with not feeling great. And then of course now I have a son, and pregnancy and all of the stress of that, it was going downhill again. So I started seeing a different functional medicine doctor, a little bit closer to here. And he did all of those food sensitivity tests that have now, been debunked. We know they're a myth. They're not accurate. And there was a ton of things that he said, you cannot eat anymore. And so I quit eating them. A lot of it was grains, legumes, nuts, seeds. Basically all of those I tested super high for. And it really kind of came down to this condensed paleo diet. Like, this is what you have to have. And so I did. I switched to a paleo diet. And then this is about the time I was having kids. And things started to definitely get better. And then he put me on some supplements to support my thyroid, my adrenal glands. And they're a very high quality supplement, which at the time I didn't realize, quality made a huge difference in your supplements. Now I'm a huge advocate for quality of food and supplements, which I will get into in all of my videos. So anyway, started feeling significantly better. Had my daughter, or my second born, kind of continued down that path of paleo. I did get, again, kind of went through the baby blues, maybe some postpartum depression a little bit after I had my daughter, and then I had to have surgery to fix my core after I had her. And I was in an abusive narcissistic relationship at the time. And science can say and prove, what an abusive relationship does to your brain. So like, definitely affects your prefrontal cortex, and can spur on things like ADHD, which, lo and behold, was my fate. So about the time I started having kids, then I was also diagnosed ADHD. And I did do bouts of prescription Adderall, and I'm trying to think, there was another one I think I tried too, which obviously helped, but I didn't like the idea. Again, I didn't like the idea of being on prescription drugs. So I really had to hone in on the ADHD and how to fix that as well. And it's not better. I have good days and I have bad days, and it really depends on what I'm putting into my body. Again, that will be a whole nother episode in and of itself on how I manage my ADHD. But yes, I truly believe that relationship was what caused the ADHD. Because I'd never been diagnosed prior to that. And yes, it is becoming more and more prevalent. So maybe I would have been diagnosed, but I didn't have these sort of symptoms prior to that marriage. Anyway, I digress. So, ADHD. Yeah, a whole nother episode on how I manage that now. currently, um, okay, so then paleo diet, and then I want to start bodybuilding. And she changes my diet to macro-based diet. Um, and at the time I was like, okay, cool. I can kind of eat what I want as long as I stay within these macros. So here we are introducing Ezekiel bread, rice, potatoes, things that I had kind of been avoiding in my paleo journey. And then adding in peanut butter again. Um, and again, that's about the time, 2016, about the time my health started taking a crap again. My health started going downhill. 2016 till about 2023, during all of this bodybuilding phases of my life. And yes, I was taking my supplements, and during all of my show preps, trying to do all of the things, but it still affected my metabolism, and my metabolic health, and other things, my mental health, as well. Um, so in 2023, when I started seeing this new functional medicine doctor, we started doing all of these therapies to help get my nervous system and immune system and my metabolic health and my hormonal health back on track. I really dove down the carnivore lifestyle and was strict. I was very strict with it. And I started sleeping better, and I started feeling better, and I was losing fat and maintaining muscle mass, which is always so hard to do in show prep. It's like why people use steroids, which I never did. All of my show preps were completely natural. I didn't do any PEDs, HRT, any of that. So all natural. So I was doing, eating kind of what I wanted, and all of these things that, I probably shouldn't have been eating, and not feeling well. And then 2023, I'm, really diving into carnivore, ketovore, a little bit of paleo. And I call my channel 99% Primal because I still enjoy the finer things in life. I'm still going to have a glass of whiskey every now and again. I'm still going to have a slice of pizza and a slice of cheesecake every now and again. I mean, I'm Italian descent. Those are my two favorite foods. So, yeah, we all got to live and enjoy our life. Okay. And I've done a lot of healing. I've done a lot of periods in my life where I've been super strict to allow my body to heal. And so now I feel like I'm okay to include some of these things every now and again. And I always feel it. I'm like, yep, this is why I don't eat these things every day, because I do feel it. I'm tired. I've got brain fog. I don't sleep as well. But life's about choices, right? There's always that trade-off. So yes, my channel is 99% primal because yes, you're not going to see me be 100% strict carnivore the rest of my entire life. And sometimes it's just not even feasible. I travel a lot. My other YouTube channel is Trippin' with Whiskey because my dog, my service dog, is named Whiskey. And of course, I love my whiskey every now and again. So check out my other YouTube channel. I do a lot more, traveling, seeing the world type stuff. Sometimes it's with my dog, sometimes it's not. I'm not one of those people that has to have my service dog. Like, I'm not going to die if I don't have my service dog with me. And so I do a fair bit of traveling without him too. But anyway, I'm very excited for both of my channels. I have really big plans for 99% Primal, with journals and swag and, tumblers and reaching the world, with my health success and my plans that I use for my clients. So I still do personal programming. I still do a little bit of personal training. And then my other channel, Tripping with Whiskey, really trying to just get out there and see the world and show you that, your health is also very reflective of your lifestyle. If you've got a ton of stress, if you're not happy where you're at with your career, your life, your job, your relationships, that's really where Tripping with Whiskey is going to come into play. Like, you've got to change your lifestyle. And those were things I had to do to gain my health back. I had to make a really hard decision when it came to my relationship. I had to sell my home. I had to sell my business and totally revamp my life. And I'm very happy now. And it's made a significant improvement to my health, especially mental health. But I mean, everything's there, everything's connected. When you have something out of whack, it's going to affect everything in your body. I will preface this with saying I am not a doctor, not yet anyway. And everything that I advise is things that have worked for me in my health or a client and their health. I will say that I am a big fan of carnivore, ketovore diets, especially for women. We need fats. And I'm going to do my next video here real soon is going to be about the not five, but beginner tips to starting carnivore diet. But some other things that I do regularly, I take iodine. I take Lugol's solution and I take a lot of it, and I still eat seafood, but I do not live coastally and I do not breathe in sea air, and I don't, immerse myself in sea water or, the soil around the sea is not touching my skin. So I'm not eating animals that are feeding off of high iodine foods. So I do supplement iodine, and I think the majority of people need to. And trust me, you're not allergic to iodine. That's a whole nother episode in and of itself. If you are having problems with iodine, it's more or less you have a problem with fish or seafood, or you had an issue with radioactive iodine during a specific test with your doctor. Okay, so very different. Iodine can also cause detox symptoms. So if you tried iodine and you were suffering, it could have been detox. All those halides, bromine, chlorine, fluoride. It's gonna purge those from your system, and sometimes that results in rashes and nausea and fatigue and brain fog. And then the other thing I do supplement with is magnesium, L-threonate, and that particularly is for my ADHD. And then I do have, I supplement B vitamins occasionally. It depends on how frequently I'm getting organ meats in. Liver, especially chicken liver, is chock full of B9. But the rest of the plant or animal foods, sorry, are not super rich in B9. There's some, and depends on what like eggs. So those are three things that I definitely do supplement with. I do plenty of salt and electrolytes. I eat butter bites frequently and Parmesan cheese squares frequently. Those are snacks. But yeah, I primarily eat foods that come from animals. And I'm a very big supporter of that. And it has worked for me. Like I said, no one body is the same, and we're all going to have different reactions to things. But I'm truly convinced that a lot of our plant foods are causing a lot of our problems, especially grains, especially herbicides and pesticides. They're really unavoidable now, even with organic foods. Glyphosate and even glyphosate is found on organic produce, and it's just terrible for you. So anyway, those are all episodes in and of itself. So please subscribe, like, comment. Again, these are all tips and things that have worked for me or a client. I'm not a doctor, and I always encourage you to tell your doctor about these changes that you're planning on making. Because if you do make these changes, a lot of times you can start cutting back on some of your prescriptions, especially when we look at blood thinners and blood pressure medications and your cholesterol meds, things like that. You can start making significant changes. So work closely with your doctor, especially when you make diet and supplement changes, especially significant ones. And again, I'm going to go through, there's going to be so many episodes on how to ease into these changes and, what could help you get through them. But anyway, I'm going to close for now. Yes, please subscribe, 99% Primal and Trippin' with Whiskey. So if you want to see my travels and see how I do maintain mostly carnivore diet when I travel, not always 100%. I mean, when I travel, I really like to branch out, like, oh, what do they have here that I've never had before or tried before? So anyway, Trippin' with Whiskey, and look and pay attention for the swag that I am going to start marketing and selling. Like I said, it's all a work in progress. But anyway, that's all for today's video, my introduction, me and the health struggles I had. I'm sure I'll go into much more detail on all of these things in further episodes. So stay tuned and have a good day.